You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap. I hope you're enjoying the show. Truth on Tap is focused on bringing you absolute truth about everything from mainstream media to comedy, from psychology to the paranormal. This show keeps it real, not the fake kind of real, the real kind of real. That same spirit also covers our Caps on Tap show about the Washington Capitals. Caps on Tap shows air only after Capitals wins at this time. Please come like our Facebook page and join the conversation at facebook.com/Truth on Tap show. Truth on Tap has been picked up and promoted by iHeartRadio, the internet audio mega monster, so shows are available there as well as on Spreaker and a limited selection on iTunes. To get in on a show's chat, you can chat from the Facebook page I mentioned or go to www.spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap and look for the live episode or call in at 910-NO-LYING. That's 910-665-9464. Thanks again for checking out Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Opening up the truth pipeline for these bitches.
Truth on Tap. Truth.
My right to say how I say it's mine to give my right, my heart, it's mine to share my songs, my heart.
Truth on Tap.
Any right to use, just a wish to use, and people or to find. Chop it up and recombine. Chop it up and
Truth on
recombine.
Tap.
Is it possible that you are in the second minute right now of August 20th, 2014? Or is that an illusion that the one world government has set up to make you think that's the date? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. We got to go after conspiracies again, folks. Truth on Tap's show, Kevin Kierstead's the host. Accidentally tonight stumbled across an interview with George Noory, and because I haven't listened to more than 5 or 10 episodes of his, I didn't realize how deep into the rabbit hole his head was. What we're going to question tonight is the validity of the rabbit hole. Breaks my heart. Because some conspiracy theories deserve a second look, folks. UFOs are real. We don't know what they are. Ghosts are real. We don't know what they are. You can't go by the traditional definition because we have yet to prove any of those definitions. What you have to say is people are seeing something. Oh, some of them are having hallucinations, other ones are lying. But there are a section of people that are highly credible that are reporting these phenomena. How can you ignore those? The extreme skeptic will ignore those. They'll say, if you don't prove it in my laboratory, then it must not exist. Well, there are those of us out there who will not write something off just because we don't have proof for it. However, once you open the door to looking at things that cannot be readily proven empirically, you open the door. Step out of the way, because a bunch of shit is going to come through. Not on my watch. I'm going to do something about it. I know what George Noory's doing. I know what Alex Jones is doing. I know why people who listen to Alex Jones consider me part of an elite group destined to fool the masses. I know why I've been accused of being Illuminati by an Alex Jones fan. I get it. I get the game. Makes sense to me. But we got to do something, because this isn't a victimless crime, you guys, selling conspiracy theories. It's not a victimless crime. It is a very highly damaging social phenomena that needs to be trimmed back like any other damaging social phenomena. And it doesn't get the attention it needs. We need people, we need scientists to stop sitting there snickering and stand up and tell us why we shouldn't believe in a JFK conspiracy, and why that the major conspiracy theories have such traction now in American culture. It's killing us. It's killing us. And it's not just America now, it's worldwide. Got some articles up we're going to cite tonight. You're listening to a silly song I put together in Reason 5.0. I wanted something that would get my heart pumping, and well, that did it. Not quite as good as some of the other songs I've downloaded, but man, it's decent. In fact, the next song coming up after this one, that one gets me going. Yeah, some of you guys know what it is already. The rest of you are going to have to wait. I'll make you guess. Anticipation is the key. George Noory, you broke my heart, man. You broke my heart tonight. Damn.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
There it is. There it is. Put on your Rocky shorts. Genghis, featuring Stereo Blackstar, Super Negro. Yeah, it's French. It's French rap. Yeah. Oh, that feels good, doesn't it? It's kind of like having a special kind of ice cream, the kind that's expensive. Yeah, that's good stuff. Stereo Blackstar, Super Negro. Tell him, Genghis. Or is it Ganges? Or is it Janges? Or is it fucking Ganga? Yeah. Probably stole that shit from Method Man. I'll growl. Yeah. You ain't scary in France. I'm sorry. Ain't nary a French motherfucker scary. That's just the way it is. Now, he may be in the inner city of Montreal doing that slang French thing where they be dropping the 45 on you. And I'm not talking about a record. Papa cap, and the izzy ass. That's how they handle business. Especially when it's cold. You got to get shit done quick up there. You got time to fuck around and negotiate. Pap. Done. Only the most super of super Negroes can function in Montreal. Yeah, maybe they are from Montreal. Maybe I've been wrong. It's because they enunciate when they say super Negro. So I said, no, Montreal's more of a slang town. Yeah, I've been there. And I've spoken French there. Sure have. Yep. Been to 47 of these great 50 states. Most of them just driving through. But been there. Across the borders. And in these great United States, how many of you think we're just sheeple? Buying the popular media's view? Believing what we're told to believe? I don't think that as many of us are as your average conspiracy theorist would have you believe. And we're going to talk about it all tonight. We're going to talk about how it's hurting us. We're going to talk about why people believe in these things. We're going to talk about the people that are perpetuating these myths. We're going to talk about the arguments that the average conspiracy theorist will bring to bear against a skeptic. Oh, yeah. And you guys know I'm not a fan of hardcore skeptics either. You don't have to be to want reason. You don't have to be. Yeah. Oh, I'm still stretching my radio muscles, so bear with me. Got to get ready. Can't just go in cold. It's warm in my studio. Warm, I tell you. Or maybe I'm getting old. Do dudes have hot flashes when they get like in their 40s? Maybe I'm having hot flashes. I don't know. Come on, get to the end of this thing. 10 seconds left. You guys can handle it, right? Then we can get to talking.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
And what we'll start with is why I'm doing this show. I wasn't going to do a show tonight. This happens fairly often with me. Something catches me. It hits me the wrong way or the right way. And what caught me tonight, I'm pulling it up right now. It's on my Facebook page for the show. The Facebook page is facebook.com/truthontapshow. Don't forget the show. TOTS is an easy way to remember it. And I was looking at YouTube videos. I don't even know how I came across this, but the video that I'm sharing here which was actually you know how my show does this. It uploads as a video, but it's not. It's just audio. So, for example, my radio shows upload to YouTube as well. It's it's an automatic thing. And I'm sure that this guy, I'll give you his name in a minute, also had, his name is Vinny Eastwood. You may have heard of him. He's from, if I remember correctly, New Zealand. And his show was also on YouTube. So somehow I stumbled across this. And I was like, oh, look, George Noory, I like him. But remember, I've only listened to 5 or 10 episodes of his stuff. I like when people probe into UFOs and things of that nature. I think it's interesting. I think some wackos will show up. I think some bullshitters will show up wanting attention. But once in a while, you'll get somebody in there that's reputable and believable and presents something that stands out. So I'm looking, and the title of this is How to Be the Best Radio Show Host, which I don't think this had anything to do with. George Noory on the Vinny Eastwood Show. And George Noory starts out fine. He's being his normal professional self. And then he starts basically speaking in support of chemtrail conspiracies or conspiracy theories. He's speaking in support of one world government conspiracy theories. 9/11, you know, he said something like, I believe bin Laden had something to do with it, but there were more people at work. He said things like, once we got bin Laden, why are we still over there? Now, let's stop there. George Noory's an intelligent dude. You don't just take the world's largest army, air force, navy, and marines and roll them up and put them in a backpack once the person who was responsible for something that started a major war is dealt with. The war has begun. It takes on a life of its own. Everybody knows that we were in the process, whether or not it was useful or not. We were in the process of trying to train Iraqi guardsmen to take care of their own country. You don't just fold and leave because bin Laden's been killed or captured. You finish the job. And we learned from past mistakes that when you quickly vacate an area that you have been occupying, you pay a price for that. People don't like it. They like an orderly exit with respect. And that's what we were doing. And that's what we're still doing. And if you don't believe that, talk to the Mujahideen. So, George Noory, you know better. You knew when we got bin Laden that we weren't going to pack up and leave the next day. That's not the responsible thing to do. So why would you do this? Why are you helping to perpetuate these myths? He's got a lot of listeners, okay? Coast to Coast AM, a great many listeners. Alex Jones has a lot of listeners. Have you guys wondered why? How is it that these conspiracy theories, the bulk of them, have not been brought over into just news? After all, if you can prove one, that becomes big news, doesn't it? Or are all the newspapers and news agencies and reporters owned by some secretive group? No, they're not. And the reason these things don't get turned into news is because they are not proven. And the reason most of them are not proven is because they are not true. What they are is exciting. When you're looking into a field full of daffodils and you see a red rose with no bush, which would be really strange, it sticks out. It's interesting. You'll ignore every one of those daffodils and just focus on that red rose. That's part of how conspiracy theories work, folks. We're going to talk about it. They're interesting. They're different. They rise above because they're not like everything else. Everything else being mainstream media. This illusion you may have about mainstream media being some kind of farce is an illusion. Mainstream media represents the body of editorial knowledge. It represents the body of journalistic labor. That's all it is. There's no grand conspiracy to get you to believe something that isn't true. Do governments do that? Of course they do. Do high-powered corporations and people that are wealthy do that? Of course they do. They want to cover up their mistakes and anything they're doing that's misbehaving. But not everybody is lined up against you. Who do you think the average reporter is? This is something I heard on a show recently that said, in fact, we were just talking about this guy a couple nights ago. I'm not going to say his name. He said, we need to get everybody out of the government. Get them all, vote them all out of there. And I hear this argument, and I just get this huge blanket of anxiety over me. And the analogy I used with him was, so you want to flush the shit down the toilet, and then you want to shit in it again and say we have something new. And the whole thing I was making a point about is, it doesn't matter if you fire everybody in the government. Who are you going to replace them with? Nuns? No. You're going to replace them with people who have a college education, who have proven to you that they can reason and argue on a favorable side of an issue, whatever that may be to you, who have proven to you that they can handle themselves professionally, and who ultimately has the money or the resources to run an effective advertising campaign, because we all have some weaknesses for advertising. So guess who's going to replace those people you're flushing out of the government? You'll fix them, right? You fire everybody. Who the fuck are you going to put back in there? They're being drawn from the same pool. You don't fix it by flushing the toilet and shitting in it again and saying that's not shit. You fix it with oversight. You fix it with creating laws and policies that confine people to honorable behavior, because it isn't within the human psyche to handle power with honor by default. Inside the human psyche is a propensity to want to better our situation at all times. And a bribe, if you can do it without getting caught, is bettering your situation. Where your honor comes in is variable. It can't be counted upon. So you can't trust the human animal, this broken animal that I like to talk about, in a position of power not to break rules and laws. But you're going to flush them all out and think you've done something. Is that going to make you feel better? Because there's an election coming. You can flush everybody out. Go on a campaign right now. Get all the guys that are in there, incumbents, to look bad. You can do it. I mean, you got social media. We got the internet. You can do anything you want. Start an ad campaign. Start a. You can start a. I don't know. What am I thinking of? What's that? Petitions. You can get people looking really bad that are incumbent right now. Get them all kicked out, so that have it so that the non-incumbent gets elected. If all the challengers get in, you think everything's going to change, don't you? How many times have you seen it? How many times have you seen it in the United States alone, where there's a major turnover in government and government power? And what changes? Have you ever seen any major changes? Have you ever seen the American government running a fuss game? So there's a myth there that if we just flush the toilet, shit won't show up in it again. And it is a myth. Start realizing what you really want when you say things like, we need to get them all voted out. Because all you're going to do is replace them from the same pool. I heard George Noory tonight talking about airport full body scanners. I would hate to believe that a man of his intelligence would believe the myth that these are dangerous. Do you realize that standing right now where you are for 17 seconds in an average space in America will subject you to more radiation from natural sources than will a full body scanner? Why doesn't he mention that? Oh, the science is there. You can look that up. That's not just something I'm throwing out. What is this? What is this? What it is people want answers. People want to believe they have something to blame for their problems. People want to believe there's something stacked up against them, and that must be why life is hard. Ain't nobody stacked up against you. The only thing stacked up against you are the things that you won't go out to discover on your own, because somebody gave you an answer where nobody was raising an issue before. Nobody was talking about chemtrails. We know that it's fucking water vapor from jet engines. And yes, there can be some fuel mixed into that vapor. But all of a sudden it's weather control? Are you fucking serious? Show me your science. There is no science, because it's not true. I mean, if the government's doing that, then have they been running these same vapors through government vehicles that run on highways? Have they been running these same vapors through tanks and through government institutions, power plants, anything like that? No, just planes, huh? And this makes sense to you. I'm getting to the point where it won't bother me, but I'm not to the point yet where I'll let it go. Now, you take the average super bright scientist. They're chuckling right now. They're saying, Kevin, what are you taking this on for? You're not going to convince people that want to believe in conspiracy theories, that the conspiracy theories aren't valid. Not with science, you're not. They want to believe it. It's the same thing as a matter of faith. I agree. I know, but maybe I can reach some people that are on the fence and pull them back into the arena of logic and reason. Maybe. It's worth a shot, the way I look at it, and it's entertaining to me, too. It teaches me about people as I do things like this. Shame on you, George Noory. With an audience your size, put science behind your claims, please. It would do our country well. Yeah, we're looking at some popular conspiracy theories right now. I've got some, this is some of the stuff you're going to hear tonight, okay? One is from a site called Facts, F-A-C-T-S, plus logic.com. And it's Why Argue Conspiracy Theories, something I just touched on. I forgot I'd even pulled it up. There are several rules they have up for how you should handle a reasonable argument against conspiracy theories. And it's a brilliant article, and I'm going to read some of it to you. But I have a favorite article up here from cracked.com. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to read that one. I haven't even looked at that. 44 funny conspiracy theories. Then we have something from warp, warp.povusers.org, which is conspiracy theory logical fallacies. We're going to talk a little bit about those tonight. This is so that you can realize if you believe in a lot, let's say you believe in about 70% of popular conspiracy theories. Well, you've been hooked. You've been hooked. And I would just encourage you to take a look at the dandelions and stop focusing on the rose. Every body of knowledge is going to have anomalies. The presence of an anomaly does not indicate the presence of a conspiracy. That's a hell of a stretch. Make sure you have more than one piece of information that doesn't fit with the rest before you go jumping and claiming foul. Now, the article I was telling you about that I was really looking forward to reading here, not reading the whole thing to you because I wouldn't do that to you, is from cracked.com, and you can look it up on Google. 5 reasons conspiracy theories are destroying the world. Now, this is a relatively, again, that's 5 reasons conspiracy theories are destroying the world. This is a relatively recent article, July 15th, 2014. But that's not where I started on this campaign about conspiracy theories are not just false, they're hurting us. They're hurting us. I started that whole campaign when I read an article in Scientific American Mind in I believe it was the September 2013 issue, about how conspiracy theories are killing us at this point. They're killing us. We've got to do something about it. Nobody's fighting back. You've got the people not saying anything. You've got the scientists snickering. And you've got the Alex Jones. But who's in the middle? Who's doing what I'm doing right now? There's not a lot of us. Not a lot of us saying, look, guys, if you're going to fall for this shit, you're hurting us. Make sure you have evidence for your beliefs. We're going to talk about this article a lot because this article hits the fucking ball out of the park. 5 reasons conspiracy theories are destroying the world. Thank you, Adam Wares and Sam Jackson. I'm sending you a note because I want you to know how well you did. Just really, really brings it home. And they leave a lot out because a lot of it can be left out. They're hitting on the major bullets. It's a fairly long article. I mean, as articles go, if you're used to seeing, I don't know, 6 or 7 paragraphs, this one's 14 or 15, maybe up to 20. I didn't count them. And even the comments on the article are incredibly interesting. So we're going to be reading some of that. And I encourage you to bookmark it and spend some time there and read along, because this is getting out of control, these conspiracy theories. First, though, I feel an obligation to check and see if any of you people are in chat. You can get into the chat, by the way. Feel free to join on in. Join the party. By the way, I know a lot of you were concerned. My DSL, for the moment, is operating properly. You won't have to worry about that soon. We are going to cable. I see somebody's in chat there. I'm sorry, I haven't checked yet. We're going to cable. We're going to bump up the bandwidth. I'm going to take the show from 64 to 128 kbits, and that'll allow for even smoother audio. And the phone calls won't be broken and crackling, as we've had an issue with for the past year on this show. So we should have done it a lot sooner. We didn't. It took something severe because we're rather, what's the right word? I would say that we procrastinate. So we didn't want to change internet service just because it was activity. We didn't want activity. We wanted familiarity. Well, it went down, and for the past week it's been screwing us. So we got tired of Verizon. We finally stopped believing their lies about how they're going to get it fixed and realized we have to go with cable. You want a conspiracy? Goddamn Verizon. There's your conspiracy. They conspire to separate you from your money, providing you with a service that they cannot match the description to the product with. There you go. There's your conspiracy. Who's in chat here? Some people up in the Apocalypse. I use average Wi-Fi, but I think since you live in a rural area, good internet is hard to come by. Yes. Welcome, Apocalypse, to the show. Apocalypse, I've never come out and asked you, how do you feel about conspiracy theories? Which ones do you believe in? Which ones don't you? Do you think that the really wacko ones are hurting us? I'm curious. Apocalypse, as you guys may know, has his own show, and he's not afraid to disagree with me. I respect him. He was here when nobody else was listening to my show, so he always gets a special seat in my shows. But he's not afraid to disagree with me. He's very, very open and honest about his beliefs, regardless of whether or not they're politically correct or not. And that's admirable in anybody. I tell people that are racist. If you're racist, just fucking admit it. How many times have you heard me say that, Apocalypse? If you're racist, have the balls to admit it. You might have a good reason to be racist. But don't lie about that shit. JFK is one Apocalypse sort of agrees with, but the others, he says, meh. I'd like to hear what you think about Roswell, Apocalypse, and then in general, UFOs. Do you think there's a lot of cover-up going on within governments to calm the citizenry because they are basically forced to admit that they can't adequately defend the skies if something is coming through at 14,500 miles an hour and we can't catch it? Would it scare the people if we admitted that? Is that going on? So we'll see how Apocalypse feels about it. You guys can join. The Spreaker site is Spreaker.com/users/truth-on-tap. You can find me that way. We're on iHeart too. I'm going to make you get your Google on for that because I don't like listing long websites. Roswell, see, here's the thing about Roswell, Apocalypse, and this is going to give people an insight into my own weakness for believing in certain conspiracies. I have a weakness for Roswell. A good resource, you know my theory on resources, Apocalypse, is to use as many as possible. I would say that Dr. Stanley Friedman's interviews after Roswell and the 100 people he talked to, he's reputable, and those people were reputable. So I think it's fair to listen to what they have to say. So if you look up Dr. Stanley Friedman, who's a particle physicist, and look at the interviews he did some 20 years after Roswell, and see what they had to say, I think you get some credibility there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think it was a UFO that crashed there. I mean, the traditional definition of UFO, of course it was. So people didn't know what it was, so it was UFO. But I'm thinking it may have been a government project, just maybe not what they said it was, which was a a very high-tech, high-class listening device to try to detect Soviet nuclear testing. It was basically a huge balloon with all these fins and things on it. That's what they claim, Project Mogul. I'm not sure I'm buying that. But when I hear reports of people saying, I saw material that looked like aluminum foil that I could ball up in my hand and then let go and it would flatten back out, or I saw small bodies being loaded into body bags, or what I saw in the field was not across a 30 feet area, it was across a 300-yard area, and half of it was shaped like a disc. When I hear that, I'm asking myself, why would these people be lying in 1968 or whenever Stanley Friedman interviewed them, when there's nothing to gain? Remember, Roswell was dead. As soon as they said, oops, Army made a mistake, it wasn't a flying disc, it was a weather balloon, everybody believed the government. Back then, everybody did believe the government when they spoke. Very few people questioned government responses to things. So all of a sudden in 1968, you think everybody's going to start lying about it? I don't. I need to see motive for that. And it sure as hell wasn't getting famous from a book, because Stanley Friedman was a nobody. So when I see stuff like that, when I see stuff like these pilots and astronauts and the Disclosure Project talking about what they saw in the sky, I trust them, because I don't think we have a better resource for aerial phenomena than goddamn test pilots, Air Force pilots, Navy pilots, and astronauts. Who's going to know better what they're looking at? Who's going to know better if they're seeing hole punch clouds or fucking inversion? Who besides radar technicians from the FAA are going to know when they're seeing a weather phenomena versus a real target on their sweeps? And when you have that many people saying they've seen something, you got to start looking into it. And science is not doing that, and it pisses me off. But let me tell you something, folks, and we're going to read a little bit about this from Cracked here in a minute. Science has looked into a lot of this shit. And then science finished with it, because science found out there was nothing to it. And yet, you find a shadow that doesn't look right in a picture of the moon landing, and it was all done in Arizona. How does a shadow that doesn't line up the way you think it should on the moon landing turn into, we never touched the moon? I don't get it. I don't get why people are still questioning this when you can look through a telescope now and see the remains of the moon landing in 1969 and all the ones since then, which I think we went, 11 other times? Yeah, it's all a conspiracy. Jesus Christ. Let's get on to this. 5 reasons conspiracy theories are destroying the world. I'm going to read some of this to you. I like the writing style of these authors. I think it's a bit of a slap in the face to a lot of conspiracy theorists, because I think they're sick of it too. These guys that wrote this, I think they're sick of it too. They don't mind you asking questions. They want you to probe, but not the dumb shit. We gotta drop the dumb shit. The quote is this: we all know a conspiracy theorist. Maybe it's that kid from high school who keeps putting photos of chemtrails on his Facebook wall, or an uncle who listens to alternative radio and thinks Obama is a reptilian creature in a human skin suit. It's easy to laugh at them and congratulate ourselves for being smarter than they are. But in doing so, you'd be missing something important. They're winning. And I'm going to repeat that. They're winning. Yeah, it's time to take conspiracy theorists seriously. Theorists, not theories, but not for the reasons they want us to. This is how it's hurting us, folks. And I'm going to talk to you, counting down from number 5. Number 5, the more information people have access to, the worse it gets. Check this out. You're going to love this stat. Right after JFK was assassinated, about 52% of people thought there was some kind of conspiracy at play. So right when it happened, half the people thought something was up. It didn't look right. Who, this fucking loser, Lee Harvey Oswald? Who was he? You know, he couldn't have done that to one of the greatest presidents to ever bless our country. No, had to be something bigger. Of course, now this 52%, of course, this was the dark ages of the 1960s, before you could just tap your iPhone and instantly find thorough debunkings of the conspiracy theories, or dead simple explanations of things like the magic bullet. They've described this bullet path, guys, with science. In the 50 years since, we've massively increased the number of college graduates in the population and, magically made all human knowledge instantly accessible to nearly everyone at any time. As a result, now you think I'm about to say the conspiracy theory believers went down. That 52% of conspiracy believers has gone up to, and I'm quoting, fucking 61%. That's why I like these guys. They'll drop the F-bomb. 61% from 52%. Holy shit. And I'm quoting. That means some of you reading this almost certainly believe in the JFK conspiracy. But we're not here to insult you. That just means that at some point you learned about the conspiracy theories, but didn't also learn that experts disproved them long ago. That's the point. All of the information is out there, but for many of you, the only bits that stuck to your brain were the ones that aren't supported by any evidence at all. And you see this everywhere. 37% of Americans think global warming is a hoax perpetrated by a conspiracy of at least 30,000 climate scientists cooperating behind the scenes as part of a secret agenda. And then there's a hardcore 20% or so who believe in pretty much any goddamn thing, from the U.S. government having staged the 9/11 attacks to a conspiracy to hide evidence of alien visitors. And there's the 28% who believe in one overarching conspiracy involving a class of elites secretly controlling just all of the world events behind the scenes. From the wars in the Middle East to the writing of this article, all of us are just puppets. Here's a video explaining how Beyonce is at the center of it all. And I didn't watch this video, but the whole idea of it's hilarious. Beyonce is Illuminati now. Yeah. Well, I've been accused of being Illuminati, so it holds equal credit. The ironic part is that the above video exposes a truth way more horrifying than some dark conspiracy, spanning Zionist bankers and Jay-Z's record label. The fact that access to information doesn't actually make us smarter. And that's true, folks, and it is terrifying. See, conspiracy buffs have a very specific method. They'll pore through the available data until they find something that confirms their belief, like an odd shadow, something I mentioned earlier, and a single moon landing photo that somehow proves the whole thing was the most expensive and pointless hoax of all time. Seriously, if they were going to fake it, couldn't they have thrown in some aliens or something to make it interesting? They ignore all of the other evidence. So the sheer volume of available data actually makes their job easier. They're just talking about conspiracy theorists here. During the 9/11 attacks, for instance, now most of you guys already knew this, the BBC reported on rumors that Building 7 of the World Trade Center had collapsed. While the building was clearly visible in the background, it would collapse a half hour later. It was a simple misreading of a report, but to the conspiracy buffs, it was proof that BBC was in on staging the attacks, along with all the other news agencies and government agencies and scientists and pretty much everyone you know. The even stupider theory that the Sandy Hook shooting never actually happened made it all the way to mainstream media attention due to conspiracy theorists poring over photographs and news reports. Any misplaced pixel on a photo is proof of Photoshop. Any misspoken word in a news report, evidence of a cover-up. Then, the conspiracy believers can set up a message board to share their theories and ban or delete any dissenting views, creating a little island where it's ridiculous not to believe that the murder victims we see on the news aren't robots or holograms. Scroll down to the comments here and prepare to have your mind blown. One guy posts that the Sandy Hook massacre was done by the same squad that, quote, began their evil, twisted careers with the faked death and witness protection escape for Elvis. And no one disagrees with him. No one disagreed with this guy. You really should look at this article if you haven't yet. And again, it's titled 5 Ways Every Conspiracy Theory Makes... well, no, let's not do that. That's the actual address of it. The title is 5 Reasons Conspiracy Theories Are Destroying the World. And they are. They're fucking us up. I want you to look at the good stuff, folks. If there's evidence for it, UFOs is one example. They're real. There's something going on there. I want you to look into it. I like knowing. But stop digging up dead bones and acting like they're new again. When these things are adequately disproven, let's bury them. It's taken away from our ability to look at things that matter. It's ridiculous. And I'm just going to take a pause here to see... Oh, Stabby, what's up? Glad you could make it to the chat room. Roswell, more Red Scare propaganda. He says, oh, we have to keep shit secret from the commies. Let's perpetuate UFO myths to hide covert ops like the SR-71. I think in that particular example, Stabby, that is a good cover, isn't it? If they can get people. But the reason that I think that they didn't that that's not necessarily accurate, that say the U.S. Air Force, hearing about UFOs, jumped on the bandwagon to say, yeah, it's UFOs, yeah, that's it, people, keep reporting those, is the fact that they created the commissions to look into it. And here's the thing. When large numbers of people start believing in something like this, and they're making phone calls, and they're reporting sightings, and they're calling Air Force bases all around the country, that's costing the Air Force money. They have to have personnel to answer these inquiries. So it's not helping them. It's not helping them. So when they came up with the, I can't remember if it was called the, they've had several names for Blue Book before it became Blue Book. They did this because so many people were bombarding the Air Force with UFO sightings. So here's what I'm saying. I don't think that the value of the UFO myth, which it wasn't a myth, but people were seeing UFOs way more than they were actually there, that perpetuating this myth that we might have aliens in the sky was as valuable to the Air Force in order to cover up their black ops as would have been people not calling every Air Force base in the country to pester them with UFO inquiries. That's where I have a problem with that. Now, I may be wrong. I may have just undervalued the value of having that myth to cover black ops. Maybe it was that important to the Air Force, so that, creating Blue Book was actually healthy for them. But they hired commissions. They hired third-party commissions. That some of those were a joke. University of Colorado, I believe Boulder, did a study in which the scientists went in saying, we're going to disprove this shit. They kind of went into it like that. And several scientists quit. Because as a fair scientist, and I would have done the same thing, you don't come in saying you're going to disprove shit. You come in saying, I'm going to discover through scientific inquiry what the truth is. And I don't blame those scientists for quitting. You don't go in with a premise when you're looking into something as an investigation. So let's get back to the article I was speaking of. This is how we're getting hurt, folks. We are genuinely being hurt by conspiracy theories. Too many people buying into it. Alex Jones, George Noory, a guy that I have respect for. I can't stand Alex Jones because I can see through him like a fucking window. It's just, he's so clearly on the bandwagon of selling you whatever it is you want to hear, that's not even a mystery to me. Now, George Noory, I think he's a bright guy. I can't be sure that his honor could overcome his need to grow in infamy. Remember, he was given a program. He was given a platform. And that was Art Bell's platform. And people want to believe in these theories. And there are a lot of reasons why they want to believe in them. I'm just saying, believe in the ones that have some real doubt, but take a look at the ones that have already been disproven and file that in your memory. Don't give that any more of your thought. Make sure you're convinced by the proof. I'm not trying to sell you closure. You have to come to your own closure. But if you look at the data out there, those data, more often than not, will slam the door on a conspiracy theory. And keeping in mind, we're looking in that field of daffodils and we're seeing a rose. So the rose is sticking in our mind. We cannot ignore all the daffodils. Can't. I mean, it's there. It's real data. It's evidence. Got to look at it all. And an anomaly does not equal a conspiracy. If there's one sentence you can take away from this show that Kevin thought, it was that I thought we need to know as a country that anomaly in data does not equal conspiracy. You can have anomalies. You can have things that don't fit quite right. That doesn't make it a grand conspiracy. I mean, and I can prove that, and I will. Okay, so here's your question, right? What does it matter if people believe crazy things now and then? Well, and I'm quoting, there's the fact that people are dying. Yeah, toe tags and everything. Listen to this. So already we can see that there is a particularly nefarious glitch in the human brain that causes us to hear minority opinions a lot louder than the majority. After all, what they're saying is more interesting by sheer virtue of it being different. Kind of like, this is the analogy I used earlier, you noticing a single red rose growing in the middle of a grass field, or more fittingly, a single dog turd on a white tile floor. So when 99% of scientists agree that, for example, the benefits of vaccines far outweigh the risk, it becomes boring background noise, and that's true. But when in 1998, medical journal The Lancet published a single solitary study that showed a possible link between MMR, vaccine, and autism, it created a worldwide panic that still rages 16 years later. And you're going, okay, so what? Well, here's the problem. The article was almost immediately discredited as fraud, retracted with an apology, and the author banned from practicing medicine, which is about as hard as you can possibly tell a scientist to go fuck himself while jumping down a well. But the conspiracy genie was already out of the bullshit bottle, and no amount of fancy proper science, quote unquote, could stuff it back in. The retraction of the article was seen as a cover-up, leading to a full-blown conspiracy theory about big pharma trying to kill us with vaccines. This is a perfect example of the breakdown in human psychology that makes this possible. The sheer fact that the assertion is outrageous and dismissed by experts makes people believe it more. So, as a result, parents not vaccinating children against diseases, we're seeing increased numbers of diseases such as whooping cough. Is that how you say that? Whooping cough? I think you pronounce it whooping cough. And measles. In 2012, the U.S. suffered its worst outbreak of whooping cough in 70 years. Washington State, there were over 2,520 cases of the disease. A 1,300% increase over the previous year, all because the state has the highest rates of parents refusing vaccination. And that's not even getting into the awful message it sends to kids with autism, which is, quote, "We literally thought it would be better if you died of measles, fucker," unquote. There is a site they list there that keeps a body count if you're interested. Jesus Christ. And here's where the conspiracy theory aspect makes it so much more lethal. Due to the fear that scientists and pharmaceutical companies are all in on the scam, people tend to only trust the words of outsiders who have no idea what the hell they're talking about, i.e. celebrities like Jenny McCarthy. Sure enough, whenever famous people discuss the dangers of vaccination, they cause a drop in vaccination rate, and it's 3 years to recover. And I think the link they're showing here is probably going to be something to do with Tom Cruise, but that's making an assumption. And it isn't just vaccines. The same year as the MMR study, The Lancet also published an equally sketchy study linking genetically modified potatoes to intestinal damage. In this case, the journal knew it was probably bullshit, but published anyway in order to, quote, avoid suspicions of a conspiracy, unquote, against the authors. Ay, ay, ay. Why? Because there's a backlash against GMO food based on panicky minority opinion that is proving just as damaging as the anti-vaccine movement. In the early 2000s, Zambia was hit by a devastating famine, so the U.S. sent humanitarian aid in the form of genetically modified grain. The country's president refused to accept the aid, calling it poison, and had all 500 tons of it locked away solely on the advice of organizations like Greenpeace, who had briefed the government on dangers posed by eating the grain. Never mind that there's never been a single documented case of harm from genetically modified food, and there hasn't, which puts it up there with the level of risk posed by werewolves, or that the medical risk of eating nothing are fairly well known. So I'm going to let you starve because I've heard a rumor that this food might be bad for your health. Are you hearing this, people? This is what's happening. This is what kind of panic buying into a conspiracy theories can cause. Apocalypse says he's sure some of it is military cover-up. I'm sure it is too. I'm sure it is too. I mean, I was in the military. There's a lot of things we have to cover. There are things that I was officially told that I officially can't tell you. It's not that exciting, the stuff that I knew, but it's just an example of what happens when you enter into that contract of keeping a secret with the military. You don't fucking come out of it. And like I said, the stuff I knew, if I told you today, which I won't, and you can cut off all my limbs and I still won't tell you, wouldn't get anybody hurt. But if I had told you the stuff back then when I was in the Air Force, it could have gotten somebody hurt. It could have gotten somebody killed. It could have lost us a war. Just my one little electronic secret. And that's all they gave me was one secret. Most of the stuff we worked on didn't have you couldn't talk about it, but it wasn't classified. But I did work with classified information, and they're very serious about it, and that means up to and including the use of deadly force if they have to keep you from disclosing it, and they will. They will. It's funny, man. Debbie Daly heard me the other day trying to light a cigarette, and I was exposed. Me and my filthy smoking habit, exposed, and I feel kind of ashamed of that, and yet, fuck y'all. I smoke, and that's that. Yep, lighting up a cancer stick right now. We're all going down. I'm just taking some control on how. That's all. Let's keep this whole boat moving through the water. And unfortunately, this boat we're on is moving through something that looks like a toilet bowl filled with shit, because we have to cut through the murky trials of the shit that we're floating through to try to make sense, to bring people back to reason. I've never told you guys what to think, have I? I've told you that you need to study the correct techniques on how to think. And if you look at those techniques, you'll see there's no grand, oh my God, is it a conspiracy? No, it's just logic. And logic is very mathematical. And if you apply some basic logic skills to your reasoning, you're going to be able to filter out so much bullshit that before you're actually pondering, maybe there's something to this. There's nothing wrong with critical thinking, folks. Nothing. In fact, critical thinking, even though it's more likely to kill a conspiracy theory rather than create one, can be responsible for creating a conspiracy theory that's valid that nobody had thought of, because you're digging in. You're digging into the evidence. So we talked about genetically modified foods. We talked about the MMR scam, one of 100 major conspiracy theories that are hurting us today, and we've got more. This is number 3 out of the 5 list. Just to recap, I'm going to read the number 5 and 4 thoughts. And remember, this is called 5 reasons that conspiracy theories are destroying the world. Number 5 was, the more information people have access to, the worse it gets. That's true. But I would never, ever try to limit a human's access to information. I want the more available, even the bullshit, the merrier. We got to have open access to information. Number 4, even though it's hurting us. Number 4, people are dying. Number 3, it's a for-profit industry. All right, this is where you're going to start developing conspiracy theories about the conspiracy theorists. Of course, they quote, much of the hysteria above is driven by a distrust of corporations, which by itself is a healthy thing. It is a healthy thing. You don't want to trust anybody that's out to make money. You gotta watch them closely. That doesn't mean that there's a grand conspiracy every time somebody sets out on a business venture in America. Corporations absolutely don't give a shit about you. General Motors apparently allowed a fatal safety defect to go on for a decade before bothering with a recall. But what conspiracy lovers don't understand is that they are also victims of a massive for-profit industry. Just switch on the History Channel. After shifting from history-based programming to reality shows, those are sarcasm quotes, their ratings exploded thanks to a hit lineup that included shows such as Conspiracy, Ancient Aliens, and UFO Hunters. Back when it was dedicated to factual documentaries, History was the 20th most popular cable network, but since switching Hitler out for Little Green Men, it shot up to the top 5. Bullshit sells. Now, I don't think everything that the History Channel has that is questionable regarding evidence is bullshit. I think these guys are jumping on the skepticism bandwagon equally as bad as a conspiracy theorist that believes in all the major conspiracy theorists are jumping on that bandwagon. Some of these need a good hard look because the evidence against them is not that strong yet. But most of them know. But he's absolutely right. Bullshit sells. And my favorite dude to beat the hell out of on this show, Alex Jones gets mentioned, says, however, none can hold a candle to the money generated by professional talk radio hucksters like Alex Jones and Glenn Beck through their individual media empires, which cover the media of print, radio, TV, the internet, and penis-powering vitality serum. Jones and Beck alone rake in up to $10 million and $45 million a year, respectively. Hell, they should be thanking the Illuminati for that kind of revenue stream. Good point. How do you get rich doing this sort of thing? Well, if you listen to Beck's show, you'll first hear about how unseen forces are ready to cause the utter collapse of society. And then, at the commercial break, you'll be informed that he's selling emergency food kits, surprise, surprise, for when the nukes inevitably start landing on American soil. Just $9,500, and you can keep your family alive on a freeze-dried food ration all through the coming war. You love your family, right? You know. The other big advertiser is gold sellers, because that's what you're going to be using for currency once the government collapses. Just don't ask why the sellers want to unload their gold in exchange for your soon-to-be useless American dollars. That's a good point. That's a good point. On the even more batshit end of the spectrum, Jones, He's right. I'm sorry. Jones is more batshit crazy than Beck. Jones is hawking his own brand of health supplements to reverse the damage that's being done to your body by the fluoride that the government is pumping into your water supply to murder you, and the chemicals being sprayed on you by aircraft, which the government has the audacity to call vapor trails. Of course, these two are just a couple of the most successful examples. It's a booming market with plenty of competition. Just take David Icke, the local British curiosity, famous for claiming that the moon isn't real and that the world is run by shape-shifting alien reptiles. Laugh all you want. That dude has a net worth of 10 million pounds accumulated through book sales and expensive sold-out live talks. Whether people are generally interested in the reptilian moon people or they're just paying absurd cash to watch a crazy guy humiliate himself for a few hours, that money adds up. It does. It is a major industry. To look at the book sales, I mean, people love a good conspiracy theory. We are incredibly weak toward these things. Incredibly weak. It's terrifying how weak the human mind is when it comes to evidence and sorting that evidence. The point being, there's an entire industry that lives off of conspiracies and thus needs to manufacture conspiracies in order to survive. So when the Navy Yard shootings happened in September 2013, Jones immediately declared it a false flag attack designed to build support for gun control legislation. The missing Malaysia Airlines flight, which clearly just crashed into the ocean, just moments after the news broke, Jones had the scoop that the plane may have been converted into a flying nuclear weapon. Fuck you, Alex Jones. I can't believe that you can sleep at night, because the shit you're doing is hurting this country and hurting the world. At least Glenn Beck is somewhat patriotic. At least he uses facts in some of his presentations. He's just cuckoo. But you're the worst kind of conspiracy theorist. You just sell him something for the fear hole. That's what he does, man. He sells you shit to put in your fear hole, and then he sells you the cure to the disease he just gave you for putting his shit in your fear hole. Guys like me will never get rich. Who do you know that's become wealthy defeating conspiracy theories? It's not a lucrative industry, folks. But I'm going to do it. That's my thing. I'm going to do it. It's one of my things anyway. Let's go ahead and do the last two here very quickly, and then we'll take a break. We're going to talk about a personality and conspiracy theories, what your beliefs say about you. This is from Psychology Today, from Mr. Personality, which is Dr. Tomas Shamaro Premuzic. Interesting name. The Fascinating Psychology of Conspiracy Theories, this coming from Slate.com. We're going to talk a little bit about that article. But first, we're going to finish on this top 5 ways conspiracy theories are killing us. They're killing us. And if you haven't gotten it, I strongly advise looking on how conspiracy theories are hurting us in the skeptical American mind. I can't remember if they call it Skeptic American or what's it called. No, I'm sorry, it's Scientific American Mind, not the skeptics. There's usually an addendum to it called From the Skeptic Society, so I always get them confused. But there's Scientific American and Scientific American Mind. Look at Scientific American Mind from September 2013, and you will have a buttload of evidence in support of the need to kill some of these conspiracy theories, because they are killing us. All right, so we talked about the first 3, and we were talking about how it makes money to support conspiracies. Jenny McCarthy's anti-vaccination thing killing us, literally. I'm going to the last 2 now. Number 2 of the 5 reasons that conspiracy theories are killing us. They bring out the worst in people. Here's where it starts to get weird. We've gone to great lengths to point out that people tend to gravitate toward these theories despite a lack of evidence. So you might say they want to believe, like the UFO poster says in Fox Mulder's office. Good point. But I want to believe in UFOs. But I've still seen no real evidence that alien life forms have visited Earth. I haven't. I don't know, maybe you have. I certainly wouldn't rule it out. But I would love to believe they were. I think that's awesome, very exciting. But I don't have any evidence for it. But at the same time, conspiracy theories make us miserable. Studies have found that people who believe in conspiracy theories tend to be much more cynical about life, feel more powerless, and have almost no self-esteem. This all amounts to a much more pissed off population, and conspiracy theorists aren't shy about unleashing their anger on those who don't share their views. Those Sandy Hook conspiracy nut jobs don't just keep to their message boards. They've been defacing victim memorials and harassing the parents of the dead children, for not coming clean about how they're actually just actors hired by the Illuminati. Yeah, it gets like that. Or ask Charlie Veitch, I believe that's how you pronounce it, a former prominent 9/11 conspiracy theorist who later changed his mind. After going on YouTube to admit that he no longer thought 9/11 was an inside job, he had to go into hiding, as thousands of conspiracy theorists from around the world set upon him with death threats. Someone contacted his mother to tell her that Veitch was a pedophile, and Alex Jones went on record to call him a sociopath. Alex Jones is a sociopath. I can tell you that. Call us crazy, but it's almost like conspiracy theories turn you into an asshole. I think that's a little extreme, but that's what they're saying in this article. Science seems to agree. By the way, a 2011 experiment sat down British college students, and after giving them primers on popular conspiracy theories like 9/11 and the JFK assassination, asked them if they would help pull those off if they had the chance. The ones that believed the conspiracy theories were also the ones more likely to say yes. And that group was also the most likely to dick people over for their own ends. After all, why play by society's rules if the whole thing is a sham? Yeah, and now we start to see what might be the real cancerous effect of all of this. And this is the one I've been preaching forever, guys. I'm glad they made it number one, and that is that it makes it impossible to fix the real problems. There are real problems that need your attention. 9/11 being an inside job is detracting from the potential that you pay attention to these real problems. A while back, they did another study in which a group of participants were shown the movie JFK, Oliver Stone's completely fictional film that pushed the idea that Kennedy was murdered by a conspiracy within the U.S. government. The film is not a documentary and doesn't claim to include real footage or real witnesses. It is evidence of a JFK assassination conspiracy in exactly the same way that the third Transformers movie was evidence that the Apollo moon landing discovered Decepticons on the dark side of the moon. Yet surveys of the participants' emotions after they'd finished watching the movie showed that most left with feelings of anger and hopelessness, as well as a general unwillingness to accept the official story. They reported afterward that they felt more disillusioned with politics and less enthusiastic about voting. After all, what does it matter when you're voting for the Zionist, NWO, Illuminati, Freemasons, either way? Another study of people who heard conspiracy theories about global warming were less interested in lowering their carbon footprint. In both cases, the theory gave them the excuse to do what they wanted to do anyway: give up. So, conspiracy theories end up being a bait and switch move, where the fictional version of the problem soaks up whatever energy could be spent actually improving things. Meanwhile, everyone else spins their wheels trying to debunk the theories, as if more information actually makes a difference. To try to stem the rising tide of kids coming down with measles because their parents are scared of the autism boogeyman, science has been forced to pump money into researching this issue again and again and again, coming out with study after study that shows no link. That's money that could have been used to research cancer cures, for developing better vaccines, or even a serum to inject directly into Jenny McCarthy's brain to kill the stupid directly. This is funny. To kill the stupid. But instead, it's funding studies to debunk that same old autism vaccine trope that's already been debunked. And it's all pointless because conspiracy theorists are all of that new evidence is just further proof that the man is working against them. If there's nothing to it, why are scientists studying it so much, is the claim. It's because you're fucking getting people doubting for no reason. Meanwhile, as reports on climate change and the increasingly terrifying effects keep piling up, we're still trying and failing to convince people that it's a real thing that humans caused. Hell, even the president had to actually take time out of running the country to show his birth certificate, all because of this weird flaw in the human mind that makes us gravitate toward the most improbable version of events, and then congratulate ourselves for having the courage to stand up against those damned experts telling us that we're wrong. If you can figure out how to fix that, well, congratulations on having saved the world. And that's the end of the article. And I'm trying to figure out how to fix that and save the world. What a futile effort, huh? I'm going to go share this article. I want you guys to read it. There will be a quiz next Tuesday. As you know, the worst shit happens on Tuesday, so why not a quiz? So I'm putting in bold letters on the Facebook page that this is a very important article by my measure. But I'm not putting that because it's just very important and I know it. Yeah, good stuff there. Great stuff. We need a lot more of that. You guys in the chat room look like you flatlined, which is fine. I think I'll try to figure out a way to fire you up on the way back in. We'll talk a little bit more about conspiracy theories, and then we'll talk about why any of this matters, and we'll fuck around in the second half. You know how we do. You know how I be doing. What's some good songs? Something you haven't heard in a while. Yeah, I don't know. 2025 is one we haven't heard in a while. Doka Shatiru, featuring Colin Muchler. Murat Says, whatever all that means. Loading it up. And then, I like Good Day. We'll play that one. This is one of my most optimistic songs. And that will be played by Alex, one of the stars of CC Mixter, featuring Donnie Ozone, who I've never heard of, but that doesn't mean anything. And then if we have time, we'll go into Advanced Base Camp with Eno. But I think I'll be back by then and we'll be talking again, so we'll see about that. So you're about to hear Doka Shatiru's 2025 featuring Colin Muchler. Murat Says, whatever all that means. That is that. So here goes this.
Markets are starting to question themselves, the bloggers exposing our blisters, just the everyday words of everyday people, shifting the tone of televised speeches. When we look beyond our next meal, our next post, the everyday choices of everyday people are facing the storms and curing diseases. Responsible for our everyday votes, the ones we use to buy our shoes, to buy our homes, to buy our tunes. Because I'm talking about our dollars, our euros, our pesos, our yen. Because what if the next 20 years are happening again? What if we've already arrived? It's 2025, 2020, 2025, 2025.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten. To Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Well, we're at Advanced Base Camp now. The elevation up here is about 18,500 feet, maybe a little bit more. My altimeter reads 5,600 meters. So that puts us above really any peak in the continental United States outside
Advanced Base Camp. Yeah.
It was quite a surprise
I'll let
to
it
get
play.
here and see
I wouldn't want to start something I couldn't finish. It's a good song. Conspiracy theories we've been talking about, and we've been talking about the fact that it's no longer just an innocent, passive thing, this silliness of conspiracy theories. It's killing people. It's killing people now, and it's killing us financially too, and that's worth looking at. Yeah. Some of the things I have up here talking about conspiracy theories, the fascinating psychology of people who know the real truth. Psychology Today, Mr. Personality, talking about personality conspiracy theories, what your beliefs say about you. Yeah, here's where they're going to get into some clinical studies. I'm not going to read this because it's relatively complex for radio reading, but I will post it on the Facebook page. Got to get it right, man. Some of these conspiracy theories are worth thinking about, but not all of them. And the ones that aren't worth thinking about, we're still thinking about them, and it's wasting time and money, and it's getting people killed. RD says, I find conspiracy theories make me a better person. Maybe I'm an exception. I should know what TBH means, but I don't, RD. What is TBH? Better person, TBH. I don't know what that means. I should know what that means. It's got to be an internet acronym. Why do you think they make you a better person? Is it because, you know, they offer alternative theories of things that make you further question and dig? Or are you actually believing in a lot of these? My European friends, while slightly more subject to the UFO phenomena interest, I think they're generally more intelligent than the to be honest, okay. I think my European friends are generally more intelligent on average than the average American. It's been my experience. I don't know why that's happening. It's just my observation. Something about America, we just think that there's nothing outside of our borders. Have you ever noticed that when the average tourist leaves America and goes somewhere, he sees the people there as if they're visiting him in America? That's disrespectful, man. That's disrespectful to people's culture. Don't do that. In my ideal America, when you go to another country, you respect them, you respect their policies and their social norms, and you honor them by showing that you respect them. When you're the greatest military force in the world, and thereby seen as the most powerful country in the world, you need to respect the others around you. Because if you're even partially acting like a bully, the hatred for you is going to grow like flames through a dry forest. And it has for us. You know, we still have not recovered from our mentality from the Bush years regarding international relations. People fucking hate us, and they should. The way we behave, they should. And we got to fix that.
You're listening to
We got to fix that.
With host Kevin Kirsten.
1:18 in the morning in my time zone, Eastern Standard Time, August 20th, 2014. We're talking about conspiracy theories, and the focus of this show has been, let's take the ones that kind of suck, the ones that we really do have proof against, and bury the shit out of them. Now, I have not pointed out conspiracy theories during this show. I've not made it a point to point out the sucky ones. You have to discover that for yourself. But most of them, I'd say a good 60% or so, have already been thoroughly debunked with good sources and multiple experiments and studies and polls. And for that reason, to let them live and continue to sap away from us money and time and thought and now lives, when you get into things like the MMR conspiracy, we got to do something about that. It's beyond just being silly now. It's fucking us up. And maybe I can't tell you why I have this, rancid is too strong of a word, why I have this poisoned attitude toward people like Alex Jones, except that I see him over there selling snake oil and people buying it. And that bothers me. It feels irresponsible if I weren't to say anything to me. I feel like I have to point it out. The fucker's lying, y'all. And it's sad that people are buying into it, and I think the human weakness that causes them to buy into it is not anything I can take on. The only people I have a chance with are people that are on the fence. If they were on the fence, I might be able to tug them back into the avenue of reason and logic, but maybe not. It just depends on It really depends on their scientific prerequisites for a belief when it comes to conspiracy theories. If I can't trigger the action that is triggered once I pass your requirement for being a valid source of information, then you're not going to believe me. And that's why most of the time I point to other forms of authority on this, scientific communities. If you happen to work around a scientist, I mean a trained scientist, even somebody who teaches science or a college professor of science, I would like for you to go and ask them, when you get time, maybe sometime in the next week or two, what do you think about conspiracy theories? And listen to what they have to say. Now, these are people who have spent, if you haven't gone through all the schooling, you got to give them some credit, because they spend a lot of time with their nose in the books, understanding what makes good evidence and what doesn't. You can also ask people in the legal community, attorneys, judges. Ask them, what does it take for you to believe something? What do you think about popular conspiracy theories? And listen to what they have to say. I can't possibly predict what they will say to you, but I already know that if they're schooled in reason and logic, they're going to steer you toward a better path than buying into these conspiracy theories wholesale, saying they must be right, nobody's disputing them. Well, they have been disputed many times, most of them. And like they said in the article, it's much easier to see that pile of dog shit on a white tile floor. You know, that's what gets your attention, not the white tile. Even though there's 400 fucking white tiles lined up there that should convince you that it is a white tile floor, you think it's a dog shit floor. It's sad. Very sad. And that leads to this, which is why argue conspiracy theories. This is from Facts Plus Logic. I'll share the page on the Facebook announcement. Why bother? Why try to bring people into the light if they're going to follow this bullshit? If they're going to continue to consume this snake oil, why bother? This is what they're addressing here. One requirement for arguing with 9/11 conspiracy theorists is that you have to like the discussion process. And most people, myself included, believe conspiracy theories like the 9/11 conspiracy are ridiculous. But if they are ridiculous, why isn't it easy to prove it? If one knew what the problems were in proving it, perhaps more plausible suppositions could be easily disproved. Here are some ground rules for arguing what people consider as far-fetched contentions. I'm not going to read all these to you. I've already shared the link, but I am going to read you the headlines of the points. Rule 1, don't call the theory ridiculous. There's no need to call anything ridiculous. You don't have to browbeat these people while you're, discussing reason with them. That's not going to serve anybody's interest if you're trying to bring them into the light of reason. Number 2, don't casually accept factual premises that are offered. For example, the World Trade Center collapsed in 10 seconds. A PhD physicist wrote a paper showing that this is the speed of free fall with no resistance at all from the building structure. You can't tell me that happened without explosives removing all the strength from the structure, or not a single shred of debris was ever found from the Flight 93 crash in Pennsylvania. No one ever saw the actual plane, blah, blah, blah. In fact, it took over 40 seconds for the World Trade Center tower to collapse. Flight 93 hit soft earth vertically at nearly the speed of sound, so it was mostly buried, but 95% of the wreckage was recovered and ultimately returned to United Airlines. Many people saw Flight 93 descend before the crash. I remember seeing witnesses that day that saw Flight 93 go down. Oh, but they're part of the conspiracy, right? Rule number 3, consider the relevance of the expertise of a claimed expert. This is a good one. This is a big one. Pilots are experts at flying aircraft, but they are not experts at aerodynamics or what happens in crashes. A trained photo interpreter is an expert at judging the size of a hole in the wall, but has no expertise in how large a hole ought to be made by an aircraft or explosion. Pilots should not be expected to know how difficult it is to fly a plane at 500 miles per hour close to the ground, because they don't do that. Trained journalists report what appears in front of them, but they have no expertise in identifying controlled demolitions. Make sure your experts are trained, well-versed, and have no ulterior motivation. Number 4 is consider claims one by one. And this is important too, because we tend to group, don't we? Zealous proponents of theories like to raise 50 issues at once, under the notion that even if most of them are explained, what remains either proves their case or justifies a, quote, independent investigation, unquote. Keep the discussion organized and make a list of the issues, going through them systematically. Pick the top 5. I predict that if you know your stuff, your opponent will decline further discussion after you have argued those. He will pronounce you hopeless and leave the room. And that's true, because you're going to systematically dismantle his argument. This is something Socrates would do. I love that guy. He would take, he's not going to let you group things. He's going to take them one by one by one and list them under the hot spotlight of scientific interrogation and say, let's see if this can stand up to scrutiny. And it'll fall. 9/11 wasn't an inside job, I'm sorry to say. Rule 5, keep the running tally of a number of conspirators. What does that mean? Oh, that's true. To accomplish the alleged controlled demolition of the World Trade Center towers as claimed by conspirators, each floor must have been packed with explosive. How many people would that take and how long? How many of the occupants and visitors would have to participate in the cover-up to prevent that effort from being known beforehand? Don't let it go at it wouldn't take many. This is something we do when we're listening to people's arguments. We take these vague approximations and let that suffice, and that shouldn't suffice. Ask how many. Don't let it go at it wouldn't take many. Do some research and break it down into the subtasks, like removing wallboard to expose the beams, hauling in the explosives, wiring them up, restoring the building appearance to cover up the work, preventing anyone from inadvertently discovering what was done. The numbers of conspirators soars, so eventually you can ask, how is it possible to keep every person involved from ever spilling the beans? And that's the biggest argument against the 9/11 conspiracies. The number of conspirators would be phenomenally large, and no one is coughing up the goods yet. People in America will talk, especially if it can get them some fucking money. They will talk. Acknowledge valid points. That's also a good way. If you're going to argue against conspiracies or anything else, don't just dismiss everything. As I've said, in most science, there are anomalies in a given experiment. But what you have to realize is the anomaly does not point to a conspiracy. That's a hell of a leap to make. Ask for direct evidence of conspiracy. That will generally shut people up right in front of you. Just say, prove it. Conspiracies, alien invaders from outer space, and temperamental deities all can provide perfect explanations of anything that is otherwise puzzling. I believe that skeptics like to call this, if I remember correctly, gods of the gap. If science can't explain it, well, it must be God. Yeah, so those are 7 rules for really having any kind of debate, but in particular addressing conspiracy theorists. And I think, did I share that one? Facts plus logic? Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with you guys when you get going. The more people, the less likely the conspiracy will hold together. We went over this last time. Yeah, people talk, that's right. "9/11 theories from the EMP to there not being any planes." Well, I'm willing to consider theories too, and I just look for evidence to support them because, it's like Carl Sagan said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that's a hell of an extraordinary claim to say 9/11 was an inside job, so let me see some convincing evidence. 9/11 was a successful conspiracy of a group of Muslims, and he's right about that. There's nothing wrong with considering them, man. I encourage people to consider every conspiracy theory they hear. Do your own research. Don't just, I'm not telling you not to believe in them. I'm telling you that so many of them out there have been disproven. And you got to figure out which ones those are so that you're not perpetuating myths, which directly hurts us now. We've proven it's killing us financially. It's starting to kill us literally. 5 hours. Yeah, they're having a very interesting philosophical discussion in the chat right now about evidence, beliefs, whether or not to entertain the possibility of conspiracy theories, what should be denied quickly, versus looked at more carefully. So I'm going to leave that at that and let you guys discover on your own what's going on in chat. And in the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit more about personality and the conspiracy theorist. I've been reading some studies lately that I have not had time to check the validity of, talking about lower IQ found among most conspiracy theorists as compared to the non-conspiracy theorists, or the ones that believe in very few. So you'll have, you can look that up on your own. I can't speak for that. But what I can speak to for sure is that there are specific logical fallacies typically involved in conspiracy theories. That doesn't mean that every conspiracy theory has logical fallacies, but these are some common ones. Number one, appeal to the bandwagon effect. The so-called bandwagon effect is a psychological phenomenon where people are eager to believe things if most of the people around them believe that too. Sometimes that thing is true and there's no harm, but sometimes it's a misconception, urban legend, or in this case, an unfounded conspiracy theory, in which case the bandwagon effect bypasses logical thinking for the worse. Here's an example. They say the most typical form of appealing to the bandwagon effect is to say something along the lines of 30% of Americans doubt that, or 30% of Americans don't believe the official story. This is also called an argumentum ad populum, which is a logical fallacy. Just because a certain percentage of so-and-so doesn't agree with something doesn't hurt the chance that that something is actually true. And the percentage itself is often very dubious, and it can be exaggerated, fabricated. Ask people when they say things like this, where did you get that number? What study was that? Is this an independent study by an independent polling thing, or is this Alex Jones, or is this ABC News? Who did that? You will find that you can just about destroy anybody in an argument by asking simple questions. Simple, meaningful questions. Appeal to rebellion. Conspiracy theories in general, and the N% of population doubt the story claims in particular, also appeal to a sense of rebellion in people. And as Wikipedia puts it, a rebellion, in the most general sense, is a refusal to accept authority. Look, people, I'm a rebel. I'm not good with authority. But I am good with science, and I am good with good evidence. And this is an actual quote from a JFK assassination conspiracy theory website. It's almost as hilarious as it is contradictory. In the end, quote, it says, in the end, you have to decide for yourself what to believe, but don't just believe what the U.S. government tells you. In other words, believe anything you want except the official story. Yeah, because that must be false. Shotgun argumentation. Shotgun argumentation is a metaphor from real life. It's much easier to hunt rabbit with a shotgun than with a rifle. This is because a rifle only fires one bullet, and there's a high probability of a miss. A shotgun, however, fires tens or even hundreds of small pellets, and the probability of at least one of them hitting the rabbit is quite high. So with shotgun argumentation, it's the same basic idea. The more small arguments or evidence you present in favor of some claim, the higher the probability that someone will believe you. And we just talked about this. This happens all the time. Watch some YouTube videos about people in New York on the streets talking about 9/11 conspiracies. They hit you with 7, 8, 9 things, thinking that at least a couple of them going to get you, so you'll believe it's a conspiracy. Yeah, don't let that get you. Make sure you break that shit down and say, let's look at them one at a time. Straw man. Everybody knows what the straw man argument is, but let me say it for the purposes of procedure. The straw man argument is the process of taking an argument of the opponent, distorting it, or taking it out of context so that it basically changes meaning, and then ridiculing it in order to make the opponent look bad. Now that's one definition of straw man, but straw man can actually be even more separated from reality than that, and I'll explain that in a minute. So, for example, a conspiracy theorist may say something like, skeptics argue that the stars are too faint to see in space, which is why there are no stars in photographs, yet astronauts said they could see the stars. This is a perfect example of a straw man argument. That's taking an argument completely out of context by changing its meaning. It's actually a bit unfortunate that many debunking sites use the sentence, the stars are too faint to be seen, when explaining the lack of stars in photographs. That sentence, while its context not false, is confusing and misleading. It's trying to put, in simple words, a more technical explanation, which usually follows. Unfortunately, it's too simplistic and good material for straw man arguments. I wish debunkers stopped using simplistic sentences like that one. The real explanation, of course, for the lacking stars is related to the exposure time and shutter aperture of the cameras, which were set to photograph the moon's surface illuminated by direct sunlight. The stars are not bright enough for such short exposure times. If the cameras had been set up to photograph the stars, the lunar surface would have been completely overexposed. This is basic photography, and it is. If you don't believe that, go out at night, turn on your porch light, and if there are stars in the sky, make sure to get the sky in the background and take a picture of the porch light with auto exposure on. It's going to take the brightness way down so that the light doesn't blow out the lighting in the photo, or what's called, I believe, the gamma, and you're not going to be able to see the stars. It's just, people don't want to know. They don't want to know. They want to believe in the lie. Citing inexistent sources. That's the worst one. I hate when people do this. Make people show you their sources. That's all. I'm not getting into that. And citing sources which are wrong. Yeah, well, it's done. Cherry picking, you know what cherry picking is. I'm not going to go into that. Argument from authority. This is something they're talking about here, where you take one scientist that says something when 98 other scientists say he's wrong, and you say, well, the one scientist did say it, therefore it must be true. Argument from ignorance. This is the most common one, in my view, that is used. And it's basically saying, this happened, and you can't disprove it, therefore it's valid. You know, simply put, argument for ignorance happens when something with no apparent explanation is pointed out, for example, in a photograph, and since there's no explanation, it's presented as evidence of foul play. You know, that the photograph has been manipulated. Argument from personal incredulity. This is the most basic and bare bones form. Argument takes the, I can't even begin to imagine how this can work, be possible, hence it must be fake. That's too bad if you can't imagine it. You need to prove your point. Not just, this makes sense. What do you mean this makes sense? That doesn't work in science. Try that in a courtroom. Do you think this man killed his wife? Well, it would make sense. Oh, okay. Well, he's guilty then. Shit. Why didn't you tell me it made sense? Dumbasses. Argument from coincidence. In the real world, things that can be considered coincidences happen all the time. This gets into correlation is not causation. People believing everything always happens for a reason. You know, for example, did some politician happen to cancel a flight scheduled on the same day a terrorist attack involving airplanes happened? Conspiracy theory, they're going to say that was not a coincidence. You know, that's sad. Pareidolia, we talked about this a couple shows ago. This is basically seeing patterns where there are none. We do that. It's finding pictures in the clouds. And it's also not a logical fallacy, but it is a fallacy of perception, if you will. And you need to be aware of it when you're looking to connect the dots. Misinterpreting photographic evidence. That happens all the time. The example they use here, this is an awesome one too. It's of Lee Harvey Oswald holding a gun. Yeah, well, you can look that up if you don't know the thing about it. But there's nothing that's a conspiracy about that. But that's what they want to do. So that's it, and I'll share that too. That comes from povusers.org, conspiracy theories. Let's see what you guys are saying in Le Chat. Pareidolia is what Debbie has. Stabby, I was going to ask you, and I don't want to start any drama, but there seems to be a history with you and Debbie, and I was just wanted to ask you, what do you think is wrong with her? What is your problem with her, if I may ask? I won't make any commentary about it, but I don't know. I don't know what it is you have against her. Men are talking here. So again, you jump off a building, maybe you could fly up. What percentage would you give that? Very interesting chat there tonight. Yeah, Earth is the center of the universe. These are a lot of these things that used to be, quote, fact, unquote, quote, common sense, unquote, have been proven untrue. And only in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary are we able to bury some of these so-called facts that weren't facts at all, but fiction. And we need a lot more of that. We'll get there. I mean, we're getting there with science. It happens slowly, guaranteed, but not fast enough. Not for what's happening now. Stabby says, can I read what you say on the air, Stabby, if you don't mind? Apocalypse, once you realize some juggalo philosopher can only laugh and enjoy themselves. Ooh. What's a juggalo? I should know that. I'm going to have to Google that. Stabby, Irish people are not white. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most Irish people are Mexican. Yeah. I saw that on Alex Jones' website, so it must be true. Fucking Beaner Irish. Well, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, think about this. Fighting Irish, who almost always predominates middleweight boxing. Aha. The Mexicans and the Irish. See the connection? There you go. There's a conspiracy theorist at work. The goddamn Mexicans are Irish. Last night, fear porn. Three hours of... What is fear porn? I'm going to have to figure out what they mean by this stuff. Sometimes you guys confuse me in chat, and I don't know if it's because I'm just getting old, or if I just haven't paid enough attention. I think it's probably the latter. Did I want to share any more? We did Facts Plus Logic, Cracked.com. The average conspiracy theorist will argue with NASA, Nobel Prize winners, and every expert in the world, despite having fewer qualifications than the average fry cook. True. Number 2, conspiracy theorists view logical arguments as cheating. That is true. Yep, that's cheating. We're working for the establishment using these crazy facts. 3, like pissing fetishes and tentacle rape comics, conspiracy theories are a problem made much worse by the internet. Much truth there. And 4 is never assume malice when incompetence will do. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm sharing this too. It has made my happy list tonight. I used to just see them as humor, but they make some sense when they want to. They really do. Yes, they do. And now I can close that, and now I can close that. My computer like sighs when I close some of these windows. Oh, I'm going to make it. This has 10 claims and fake explanations of misconceptions about debunkers. You know, like number 3, for example, debunkers simply ignore the evidence. Well, that's not true. Some do, but most people that come in to debunk something have done some research. So I'm going to share that one as well, because I found it interesting, the part that I did read. I guess I'm kind of on a warpath against these people that are trying to sell conspiracy theories wholesale. When, yes, you guys know there are a couple that deserve to be looked into. There's not a lot of evidence to disprove them out there yet. And there's a growing, perhaps in some cases, a growing body of evidence arguing in the affirmative. So we need to give them a look. I'm not saying that we don't, but most of them, what a waste. And once you understand the psychological mechanism behind it, you'll never get taken again by a conspiracy theory. Once you realize how simple it is and how easy it is to avoid, you won't. So I'm going to share the psychology one from both Slate and Psychology Today, also on the Truth on Tap announcement for this show, so you can read up on that. I want you people to help me spread the word that most conspiracy theories are shit, and make the people claiming to you that they aren't shit prove it and they will fall. Fall, I tell you. I wish they gave specific psychological conditions here on this late article about, you know, the average conspiracy theorist and what they're suffering from, but they don't really. Yeah, well, it's still good. It's still a good article, and I've already shared it on the Facebook page. In the past, I was much more into metaphysical and supernatural. I like anyone in what they call the truth movement, RD says. I had Alex Jones phase, but I don't think anyone sane can keep listening to that. RD, when I first started listening to Alex Jones, I thought he might be onto something. I'm like, here's a guy who apparently has some friends on the inside, and he's exposing some truths. And I loved his journalistic work. He started off being amazing, but then he realized what sold, and he just jumped into that. And that was sad. It was sad to see, and I hate what he's doing now. One thing to keep in mind, and I'm arguing for the other side this time, is that scientists love to try to laugh at anything you claim might be supernatural, and a lot of that is their ego. Scientists do have egos, and if they can't disprove something that can't be readily proven, they're not comfortable with it. Okay, and that's why some of these linger. Ghost, for example. People are seeing something, scientists don't like that they can't prove or disprove it, so they laugh at it. They laugh it away. That's not a good reason to consider that ghosts are definitely spirits from the afterlife, nor is it a good reason to consider that ghosts don't exist. What it is showing that there's confusion, and wherever there's confusion, there should be further inquiry. Truth movement, yeah. They call it the truth movement, and it's the fucking lie movement. What they need is an evidence movement, alright? If these guys are claiming truth, shit, get the fuck out of here. What people want, and I'm the same way, guys, we want somebody to go do this research for us and just bring us the fucking Cliff's Notes. We don't have time to do all this research. So if we happen to accidentally stumble onto an Alex Jones, he hits us with two things that make sense, we might go ahead and buy the package. And if we do that, we're fucked. You can't do it. You have to have multiple news sources, and you'll hear them routinely disagree with one another. And that's when you've got to look into things a little deeper. Barco argues with himself. That's got to be interesting. I only argue with myself in private. That's a private issue. Yes, RD would argue with a Nobel Prize winner if it went against what he believed. Is that true, RD? Does someone having won the Nobel Prize have an extra amount of authority to you compared to the average scientist standing beside him that hasn't won it? Okay, so you've got a show on Bastard FC's account. I've seen Bastard FC's show advertised by Barco on Spreaker Gods on Facebook, but I still don't know who's working for who. You people confuse the shit out of me. I believe most ghosts are just people's brains or ignorance of what's happening 99.99% of the time. I think that percentage is too high. I give people more credibility than that for not hallucinating, lying, or misinterpreting environmental data. I think if I had to guess, I'd put it at about 90% of the time. And I would give those 10% of claims a good look. Now, it could be, that you put something there that has a wide scope, and that is ignorance. Maybe it is ignorance of environmental issues that's happening. I don't know. But I would rather use a word like misunderstanding. We don't understand ball lightning very well. So when people report it and say, that has to be something from outer space, well, if we understand ball lightning really well and someone sees it, well, they're not going to make that mistake. So not understanding science leads to a lot of these claims. I'm still interested in the supernatural. I think the supernatural is another word for outside of known science. That doesn't mean that it's false. It certainly does provide a breeding ground, though, for false claims and those that like to sell the snake oil. St. Elmo's fire, yeah. DJ Roulette. Okay, I see what you're saying there, RD. So you guys have I've seen some other stations that do that. They have various DJs that come on the same station. Yeah, they should be, Stabby. What's up, Dyslex? You caught us on the ass end, man. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Oh, that's usually Andrew or RD that comes in at the end. Kevin show almost over? Let me go get in the chat. You know? Yeah. Space is a wide open avenue for paranormal and supernatural claims because we don't know shit about it. We used to think St. Elmo's fire, says Stabby, was supernatural. They now have a good handle on what it is caused by. I've heard that too. I know that some of these lights that we talk about can be caused by electromagnetic fields and energy charges in the atmosphere, and for some reason when there's near a volcano or an earthquake you can see these lights more often, and they have some science behind that now. Yep. Well, you guys, I don't know if Apocalypse is whacking his pud or if he's busy or what, but he normally can find another show for everybody to go to. And since I don't see him, I will go and do the very labor-intensive task of finding some shows that are live right now that if you're in a chatty mood, you can jump into. Because I like to do things for people. You know, I'm going way out of my way for you here, and I want credit for that. So if I go to Spreaker, and I go to Explore, and I go to Live Now, I'll bet I'll find some shows that are live now. Oh man, my show's gone off of the Star on Stage. Oh well, I have my 15 minutes. So let's see, Live Now, I'll share the link. I should have this memorized by now. It's Spreaker.com/explore/25-live-now. But I'll share it. Remember, a lot of these run 24/7, so they're just music, but at least you can find some shows on here. It'll be Debbie most likely, and we'll find several Barcos talking to himself there. 4 more hours. Oh, RD just woke up, yeah. So you guys forget, you forget, my man's over in Europe. Yeah, so there's your link to 25 lives right now, but it actually shows more than 25, so I'm not sure why they placed that number on it. Storm is on. Storm advertises a lot on DJ Izzy on Storm. He advertises a lot on Spreaker Gods on Facebook. Let me see if I recognize anybody here. Spirituality Talk. Somebody's going to try to sell you Jesus, I'm afraid. Who is that? Kev versus Conspiracies. That looks interesting. Oh, that's me. Scrubs Radio. I don't know what that is. Sparks Radio. Oh, Debbie's doing a show right now, too, by the way. Zoot Suit Riot. I might have to go check that out and see if it's interesting. News, ACR Network. Yeah, well, we're getting ready to get out of here, folks, and I'm asking for your help to defeat the silly conspiracy theories, especially this big pharma coming after you with the MMR vaccination stuff causing autism. Let's do our research there and bury that, because it's getting people killed. Things like that, they're a waste. You know, if they don't have some decent evidence in support of, you know, I'm not telling you to come to a conclusion for certain, but if something doesn't pass a decent threshold of evidence requirement for you, don't give it any of your time. And don't let other people either. Tell them right up front. You got evidence for that? If you don't, shut the fuck up. That's kind of confrontational, but you know, whatever you have to do in your own little way. Okay, I don't see that anybody has shared another show, but I think I'm going over to Debbie's and see what's up in that chat. And then if any of you other guys are doing shows, you're always welcome to advertise it on my Facebook page or whatever. So yeah, so we're getting out of here. I am going to line up for you Maybe we should make a call first. I always like to make at least one call. But I don't know who to call. I think we'll try to call and win a contest. Let's see if I happen to be the 1 millionth caller to this
you
line.
are the 1 millionth caller, and you have just won a brand new car. Providing you can answer these questions.
You don't
You have
say.
15 seconds from the sound of the beep to state your
Okay.
name, phone number, and name the 50 states.
The 50 states, United States of America. Aha! I won the car. I get the motherfucking Geo Metro, bitches. Used. Got 3 wheels and a donut. I get it. I won. Yeah. So you try to fuck with me. I was ready for that shit. Alright, so on the way out, I think I'll play you a song or two. Soda 18 Pieces, I love that song. And I also love, what's the other one? I can't remember what it's called. Ah, fuck it. Just play that one. So for those of you that may have joined late, you're going to hear a little commercial on how to find and follow this show. I want to thank you guys that came into the chat room very much. I appreciate your time and attention there, and you add to the discussion, both the supporters and detractors, and we need you there. Got to make the world a better place, and one way to do that is to stomp out the dumb conspiracy theories, the dumb ones, and just keep the ones that have decent evidence in support of them in the news and in the spotlight. How's that sound? Does that sound good? Good. I thought it would. And
You're
since that is...
to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap. I hope you're enjoying the show. Truth on Tap is focused on bringing you absolute truth about everything from mainstream media to comedy, from psychology to the paranormal. This show keeps it real, not the fake kind of real, the real kind of real. That same spirit also covers our Caps on Tap show about the Washington Capitals. Caps on Tap shows air only after Capitals wins at this time. Please come like our Facebook page and join the conversation at facebook.com/Truth on Tap show. Truth on Tap has been picked up and promoted by iHeartRadio, the internet audio mega monster, so shows are available there as well as on Spreaker and a limited selection on iTunes. To get in on a show's chat, you can chat from the Facebook page I mentioned or go to www.spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap and look for the live episode or call in at 910-NO-LYING. That's 910-665-9464. Thanks again for checking out Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap.
You're listening